Hey, what's up everybody? Tim here to tell you about this new skate rack that we have that fits 04 and up Sportsters that you can find at lowbrowcustoms.com. So we have this skate rack that fits a few different model of motorcycles. We have one that fits early Sportster, one that late Sportster, and one that fits Dyna. They're all made right here in the United States, in Northeast Ohio. It's a really beefy mount to be able to mount your skateboard in a safe location that's kind of tucked away, instead of like having to sit on it or mount it on the side of your sissy bar where you got kind of like a wind sail or like a catch-all, because now you got something sticking out far left and right. This one mounts on the side of your bike, parallel with your bike, so it's nice and tucked in. And also, like I'll show you later in the video once we get this installed, you're also able to have a passenger sit on the bike without the skateboarding being in the way of the passenger. To mount this on your bike, it's a really simple install. There's just a couple things that you're going to have to do beforehand. On this bike, we've already removed the turn signals, but you can watch in a motor rack video on this same motorcycle how easy it is to eliminate the turn signals off of your bike. And then another tip, since this fender is so low, that before we get really to bolting this on, I'm gonna actually jack up the fender so I can get my arm and tools in there. So to lift it up, all you have to do is unbolt each shock from the bottom, and then you'll be able to jack this up and just get this nice and high so you can work underneath. So let's do that really quick. So I have the turn signals removed from this side, and we put the strut covers back on because I wanted to show you how to use the strut covers. So on the inside of the gas box sissy bar, there's little washers that are basically the same as the one that come in the kit. They're the same size and dimensions. And those are designed just to snap in the little embossments that are on the strut covers. If you don't run the strut covers, you won't have to worry about the little washers on the inside of the sissy bar or that come in the kit. You won't have to use those at all. If you run the sissy bar, you don't have to worry about it. If you don't run that, you'll have to put these washers in between the skateboard rack and the strut covers just to take up that slot so it's not smashing it. If you don't run these and you don't run the sissy bar and you just have the struts that are welded on the frame, you can bolt right to that, and the only thing that you'll need to worry about in that situation is you'll have to run the thicker 1/4 inch spacer in the rear because the mounts are actually not parallel on the strut. The one in the front stands a 1/4 inch proud than the one in the rear, so they have to use this 1/4 inch thick washer to take up that slop front to back. It sounds complicated, but it's really simple. Once you just try to bolt it up once, you'll really understand what I'm talking about once you have all of this in person. It's really easy, I promise. To get this rack on here, all I have to do is remove these 2 bolts. So we'll get started and I already have these loose, so they'll just pop right out. I kind of just had them in here just to hold my place. All right, I'm just gonna keep that in there just so the sissy bar doesn't fall. Depending on what other parts that you use with this rack, you might need a couple different variations of bolt length. So we gave you 3 different bolts to choose from. We're going to be using the longest one in the rear because that one has the most length that needs to be taken up, because that's the one that gets the 1/4 inch spacer. So we're setting that one in first, and we're going to use the second length bolt. And you can just try this out and make sure that everything's going to fit up, and if you need to swap out one bolt for the other, you'll be able to. Or if you find out that a bolt is just a little too long in an area, if you're using the sissy bar, you can take those washers that we have provided and put them under the heads of the bolts just to move them out just that little bit. So you're going to want to use a little blue Loctite and get it on both bolts. I'm going to stick this one in first. Just get it lined up. Pull that out. And like I said, I'm not using those other spacers because we're running a sissy bar on this as well and won't need to use that. We're going to tighten this up, and one thing that you're going to want to check is that the threads don't protrude into the fender too far. You don't really want the threads of the bolt sticking out past the end of the nut. So you kind of want to try to get that flush, whether it's by making sure the bolt's using the right length bolt, or you actually have a little bit of room you can put some spacers underneath the head of the bolt like I mentioned, and to space that out so that you don't get any clearance issues or interference with your tire, and when your shocks are compressing, the bolt is actually gouging your tire. So that's one thing to look for, and it's really easy to check when your fender is jacked up like this and you can really see inside there. All that kind of stuff changes when you do different stack ups, so that's why you're going to have to really take your time to check that out. So you got your bolt sticking out past the head of the nut or the top of the nut. This is not good. These threads aren't doing anything, so you're just going to want to just utilize the threads that you can, and that'll give you the max clearance to the tire. And this is good, where it's almost basically flush with the top of the nut. So this little rubber grommet on the end of it is just a nice buffer for the end of your skateboard. So when you slip this in here, your grip tape's able to hit that and not scratch this new piece all up or make a bunch of noise as you're kind of jamming down the road and this thing's rattling or something. It'll just be a nice buffer to make this ride pretty smooth. So now that we have this on, I'm going to show you how to put the skateboard in, and you're going to just grab the bungee that it came with and fish that through the holes in the back of it, not the slotted part, just the through holes. And just fish this through and pull them up, kind of like you're holding the purse. You got a hold of that, you slip your skateboard in, and you're just going to want to loop this up. And there you go. Now your skateboard's on there. It's really quick to just slap that into place. So now that we got your skateboard on, I wanted to show you another benefit of this style of rack for your skateboard. That you could actually, say, have a passenger and it's not in the way at all, be able to tuck in under your leg. You don't have to have your person sitting with their back against the skateboard or something. It's just totally out of the way for wherever you're trying to go and ride to the skate park. So aside from having a passenger, this could be a big duffel bag on the back of your bike. It just frees up a lot of space, especially using it with a motor rack on the right side. You could be really set up to go on a skateboard camping trip, ride your bike all over the country. So I hope you find this helpful, and you can find all these parts and more at lowbrowcustoms.com. Thanks for watching.